Hi, Anthony Garcia here with Verizon, and first I'd like to say these opinions are my own and have nothing to do with Verizon. So just a little disclaimer there that they do not represent Verizon's opinions at all. So um, I'm going to attempt to go over the Cisco Collab Summit and just give you the high points, what I thought were the important points. There was a lot of announcements, but I just picked five. These are the ones that I thought the most of the analysts and bloggers are talking about. So I'm going to go through those real quick. So first, one platform. I think we all heard of this. What does it mean? And what was said at the Collab Summit? Rowan said one experience, one platform, and one story and one brand. So I like the way he sized that up. Definitely there's no more Spark app or Webex app. Both of these things are coming together. Most of the meeting functions that in Webex meetings will come in to the Webex Teams client. That's already happening. If you haven't seen your client lately, you see the record, you see participant lists, you see the muting function, and also more importantly, you're seeing all the Spark. If you have M3 licenses, you're seeing all these Spark conferencing URIs and URLs turning into Webex. The mini controls, okay, I went through that. I kind of put in here, the 4.1. What's the skinny here? What's the exact message, or what to be thinking about here? This will definitely get rid of all the confusion that we've had over the past 2 years. When they started saying that they were going to merge these things together, or they were going to do WebEx integration, it just really didn't make sense. What did that mean? Were you having a WebEx meeting, or were you having a Spark meeting? And then if you had M3, okay, you could do some Spark meetings, but if you wanted more people, then you had to do WebEx, the traditional WebEx web app, or the app on your mobile phone. So it was a mixed story. You really couldn't weave in a good story on the evolution that was going to happen between Spark and WebEx, and now you really can. I know the name change doesn't make a lot, but it's starting to come. It's starting to be evident what's going to happen here. There's going to be a WebEx Teams app, the old Spark app, and they're going to start bringing things in, bringing functionality in there. We're going to have one app. I think the web portal, the web app of WebEx meetings that we're all used to will stay there for quite a while. For those folks that are just buying WebEx off the shelf and that's all they want, there'll be quite a bit of those folks still for years to come. But they're going to bring all that functionality, as far as Meeting Center anyway, bring all that Meeting Center functionality inside the WebEx Teams WebEx Teams client. And they're going to refocus on meetings. So you hear Cisco speak a lot about meetings, 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 meetings. They're talking more about like a Zoom. We just talk about meetings. We're not talking too much about calling or anything like that. They're really concentrating on meetings and then going to back into calling. So it seems like that's where they're going with this, which is a great strategy. WebEx has a great meeting center. Everybody uses it. Obviously, the Spark or the WebEx Teams messaging client, you could argue, doesn't have a lot of functionality. It's been slow to roll out more functionality as far as the messaging type, like threaded messaging, support for ICE, stun, turn on the calling side, ability to like things or love them, or put memes or stickers, and things like that inside the messaging stream. So those things are kind of weak, and I think Cisco knows it, but their meeting and their ability to bring in SXs and MXs and room units, that's very strong, so they're going to concentrate on that side. So the next is Webex Share. So this is cool. Couldn't be a collab summit with Cisco if they didn't introduce some kind of hardware. I know they're turning into a software company, but certainly we got a good piece of hardware here. So this will be kind of an affordable wireless presentation device that will plug into any monitor, with an HDMI cable. Certainly for those people that have, bought hundreds of Samsungs or Vizios, and they got those in their rooms, and maybe they've been plugging in and doing Zoom, plugging in HDMI from a laptop or something, they'll be able to easily upgrade those rooms right into the Webex Teams meetings portfolio, or application, and make those rooms into a collaborative, immersive experience, and bring them right into the Webex Teams world, so to speak. It's going to support proximity. That's really cool, because not only will you be able to start meetings from your Webex Teams client, and Webex client for that matter, which supports proximity as well on your mobile devices, but you'll be able to share wireless also. So kind of one button to push using your mobile client or your Webex Teams client, because it's going to sense that proximity. If you don't know what proximity is, take a look at my other videos and you'll see how cool this is. It's an ultrasonic sound pairing capability, and then you can just you don't, no magic. You can just start a meeting that's on your calendar, right on the display on the wall if you have one of these Webex Share devices. For customers that don't have a budget, this is going to be a great solution, right? It can integrate into Exchange also. So I don't know if you've seen my video where we have Webex Teams or Spark Hybrid, still it's called, and we integrate the calendaring, and then we can bring those room systems into a calendaring room, Exchange room, if you know what that is. You can add those rooms in, and then you'll get the one button to push in the room itself, and you'll be able to schedule them, and things like that. Make sure you're not overlapping the room device. So they'll be able to be scheduled like that too with the hybrid calendaring. And then we'll work with Spark App for wireless app sharing right from desktop. Hey, if you're in one of these rooms, you're in a Webex meeting, you can, anybody with Webex or Spark, Webex Teams on their on their laptop will be able to wirelessly share to that particular device. So just like today in the Spark app, you can wirelessly share to a room system or a Spark board or things like that. That's going to be available as well. Okay, next one, number 3 is Broadsoft. I wanted to say so much about this, and it was just really kind of, you don't have a lot of analysts, you don't have a lot of people talking about it. There's a few out there that I found that are talking about this, but to me, I think this was big. So let me go through this list here. I try to write everything down so I don't forget to tell you my thoughts here, or other people's thoughts as well. So these aren't just mine. So the Rowan quotes here, we are not intending to compete directly with our service providers, but to broaden the offers. Okay, so that makes sense. If you think about Broadsoft, 80% of their lines are really delivered through tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 service providers, and they're mostly hitting the SME market, right? Small business enterprises or small and medium business enterprises are really their target for UC1 and their cloud offerings, as well as their service provider on-prem offerings that are integrated, that service providers are selling also, like for instance us with Verizon One Talk and things like that. The next quote, I think the obvious area would be able to take Webex investments and integrate those into Broad. This was mentioned several times throughout sessions at the summit. So definitely what they're thinking is, all the Broadsoft stuff, and if you're familiar with Broadsoft, UC1 Meet, UC1 Communicate, and all those things. I mean, I think they're pretty good platforms. They have persistent chat. They have some things in messaging that are pretty good. Now, their meetings or online meetings, definitely not as robust as Webex. So they're going to bring that Webex Teams messaging, so messaging and Meet on the Webex side, bringing that to the Broadsoft offering, and obviously first off to the SME market. Okay, the themes that I saw here. The on-prem guys shouldn't worry yet. So they did several times say, hey, you service providers and big integrators, don't worry. CUCM 12.5 is coming out soon. I think it's coming out in the next few months or something. And then 14, version 14, they're skipping 13 But 14 is coming out late next year or late this year, calendar year, and so we're marching on with and they always were careful they were careful with their words when it came to HCS and service providers and on-prem. So we all know that HCS and on-prem is kind of the same thing, the same server, same software, same all that stuff. But they seem to start, straying away from the on-prem speak. Now, I think it's inevitable that that's going to come. We'll talk about that in a second. Let me go to the next point. The plan is Broadsoft will bring call control to Webex team calling. That's obvious. So Spark has been out for 4 years, Webex Teams, 4 years, and the amount of PBX features that are in there are minimal. I mean minimal, 2 or 3 things. It's very minimal, and the way you configure things in Spark Control is clunky. So it's obvious that they're saying, hey, we have a great call control platform with a lot of features, a lot of service provider features, and that's really what we need to put underneath Webex Teams as the calling platform. So they've said this several times. That's going to be the calling platform, the call control platform that comes into Webex Teams calling. Broadsoft Contact Center, obviously that was talked about, not as much, but that Webex, the Broadsoft Contact Center stuff is definitely going to be, I think, going to fold right into the Webex calling feature. So all that call control and that portal, they have a great portal for Contact Center and lots of different reports and things that call centers want to hear. It's part of their Broad Clouds offering, but I see that coming in. They've expressed that as well, so we can see that in the next probably year or so. These things are going to take time. They're not going to happen overnight, certainly. Flex for everything in the future. So they talked several times about this Flex licensing and how you're gonna buy Flex, and you're gonna get if we're talking in today's words, you can get Broad Cloud, you can get UC1, you can get UC Meet, you can get or UC1 Meet, you can get UC1 Communicate, you can get on-prem call manager, you can get HCS from a service provider, you can get WebEx, you can get all this stuff under one license. You take it where you want. So that is what I got from their talk. They talked about that. They certainly talked about that it would be it would be a while before all this stuff comes together. So what are the main things that I think we should glean from this? Is it's clear that Cisco is definitely acquiring software companies, right? Think Viptela here. They are going after the non-traditional way they've been doing things for 2 decades. They're buying hardware companies and folding that stuff in there. They're buying software companies now. That's what Broadsoft is. That's what Viptela is. So who knows who the next one is, but they're going to start adding to this, or they won't stop adding to this. That's how they've built their empire. Is it the death of on-prem CUCM? In my opinion, absolutely. How long that will take, I don't know. Will they keep it on life support for a while? Yes, but I can tell that they're being careful with their words when they say on-prem. They're very careful to always mention HCS UCAS through their wording when people were asking questions like the on-prem stuff. And who knows really on this stuff. There's a lot of big customers that have on-prem stuff, and they certainly talked about the Call Center Express and Enterprise, that they were going to follow that, keep on developing in that area. How much, who knows, but we'll see. We certainly know, and they certainly know, Microsoft has kind of thrown the white flag up and said, hey, we're not going to develop the on-prem Skype for Business anymore. That's going to be gone after the next version. So Microsoft has already pulled the plug on it, and I certainly don't think that Cisco is going to be far behind. Again, they have one difference, and that's HCS, which uses all the same software that on-prem uses. So we'll see. Cisco sees HCS UCaaS as a stepping stone to pure cloud. They mentioned this several times when they would talk about HCS and service providers providing UCaaS. They said, hey, these guys need a stepping stone to pure cloud. And that stepping stone, definitely HCS and UCaaS fits that. You're still going to cloud. Your stuff and your PBX stuff is going to be in the cloud, but it's your own little slice. You can stay on that version. You don't have to up that version. You can do some integration and things like that. And it's a little safety net. It's kind of that. It's a stepping stone. So it's a good strategy that Cisco is taking here. I think that Verizon, and other service providers, if they provide HCS, UCaaS, are in a pretty good position for years to come, because there's a lot of people that are going to use that platform as a stepping stone, even if someone waved their magic wand, and by the end of the year, Webex Teams and meetings and calling was all figured out and all worked seamlessly. Same with Microsoft Teams and Cloud PBX and calling plans. They have ways to go. There's certainly no features there, and that's the big thing. There's no features, whether you're talking about Webex Teams calling or you're talking about Microsoft Teams calling plans, is what they call them over there. Cisco sees Broadsoft bring together HCS and mobile experience. When they had some high-level talks, we had some VPs and senior VPs on stage. They talked a lot about how they're going to bring these experiences together. So you got the Broadsoft with the SME, play, and the service provider play, and you have the Cisco UC stuff still in service provider and on-prem, but a lot of development in service provider and HCS and UCaaS. How do they bring those together? The first thing that popped in my mind, and I haven't heard this, when they were talking about these things, I would think the first thing would be the client. So I think, and this is just a prediction, that somewhere in the near future we're going to see an announcement on in a unified client. So Jabber will go away, and then the Broadsoft clients will go away as well, and we'll have, I don't know, Webex Teams, who knows, or some flavor of that, and there's going to be one team, and they're going to bring these developers together and say, hey, concentrate on one client. Let's get one client working, no matter if you're connecting to on-prem, CUCM, service providers, HCS, UCaaS, or Broadsoft, Broad Cloud, or UC1, and things like that. So that's what I gleaned from it. When they were talking about this, they talked about it several ways. It seemed like they were kind of careful with their words there. Let's see, large enterprises will be HCS UCaaS with Jabber at Webex Teams, and then hybrid. And I did hear some speak about iStun Turn is coming. If you don't know what iStun Turn is, I have another video on that. But those are things that are coming, and you can bet that one client is going to be a lot easier. Apparently, iStun Turn is a very complex way to engineer all your SIP signaling and your calling and fast media paths, and they probably don't want to do it with all these clients and have all that engineering development resources taken up with all these clients. So again, I think it's going to come together. They're going to concentrate on one client and really make that client robust, like Microsoft is doing. And so small, medium business will continue with the existing Broadsoft offerings. They have to say this stuff. Hey, don't worry, our SME market with our UC1 and our service provider market that we sell into for on-prem, or our cloud offerings with Broad Cloud, still going to be the same. We're going to start bringing those with more capabilities, right? We're going to bring some Cisco stuff over here to the Broadsoft side, and we're going to bring some Broadsoft over here to the Cisco side, and life is going to be great, and you're going to love it. So that was a theme. Hopefully that comes to be. I hope so. Webex Assistant. So everybody is on the AI kick lately, and Cisco is there too. So there was some cool demos, and I have to admit, this is kind of cool, and it would definitely help folks out. And AI certainly should be part of unified communications. And it would kind of went like this: hey, Webex, start my meeting. starting a meeting. So, hey, Webex, start my meeting, share my content on my screen, end the meeting, show a self view, conference in another participant, and search the corporate directory for Anson Garcia. So they had all those capabilities and they demoed those. The really cool thing was just, and wasn't giving a lot of pizzazz at the show, but the thing that I really liked, because I'm a traditional desk phone user, which according to statistics, 70% of people agree with me, and not only my age, but 70% of people across the board still use a desk phone in some form or fashion. We all like to say we're mobile and things, but if we live and breathe in a large enterprise, we use desk phones, and that's going to be there for a while longer. So the Webex Assistant, certainly they showed that on a regular Cisco desk phone as well. Again, start my meeting, share my content, end the meeting, join my meeting. All those things were demoed on just a regular Cisco desktop phone or desk phone. That is it. And those are my top 5. And I thank you for watching.